So I'm going to do a very quick demo of how to draw an eye. I think there's always a tendency to think of an eye as a generic little fish, which is this sort of shape, and then people just put a circle in the middle and boom, it's an eye. But this is really just a symbol. It's not really how an eye is constructed. So I'm just going to show you how to think about the eye, and if you have this information in the back of your mind, then it will help quite a lot. First of all, it's important to remember that an eye is actually sitting in a socket, and the eye itself is constructed out of different interlocking curves and spheres. So if we start to draw, you'll be looking in a mirror and you'll be following the curve of the upper lid. You might notice that the lid actually is not completely symmetrical, and that in the corner here there's a little pool where the tears come out. Then the bottom curve might not necessarily be the same as the top one. And then there is a thickness of the eyelid. So you need to look at that and see how it starts off quite narrow and then it thickens at the top and then it tapers down over there. And then down at the bottom, there's a thickness as well of the actual skin of the bottom, the part from underneath. So there's a little shelf almost, a little shape there. Now the iris doesn't sit right in the middle unless you want a startled look. It's actually hooded by the lid. So you really only see some of it, and depending whether the eye is looking left or right, or so that iris will move. So let me just make one that is sort of to one side here, and you see that circle, the top part is hidden by the eyelid, and then there's the middle of the iris, which might have a little bit of a highlight, so I'm not going to make it all dark. So then the part that I said about, remember about the socket gives a sort of a feeling of that this is all sitting in this other circle, and up here is where your eyebrows are going to be, and from here your nose is going to go down. This is what people are referring to as their bags. The bag is created by the socket. The other thing to remember is that because it's a ball, and when you have a ball and the light is coming from here, this side of the ball will be all lit up, and this side of the ball will be all shady, and it will be throwing a shadow onto the surface that it's sitting on. But that's really not really relevant. But this part is that there's a dark shadow away from the light, and it's the same is true for the eye. So there will be a sense of shadow in the corners that will, I'm doing this with a thick pen so that you can see it, but if you were using pencil, you would be shading here and there to just give that spherical look. And then you would obviously put a little bit of detail for the iris. Now this eyelid is like a little shade. It's and it does create shadow. So this area underneath is also going to have a shadow. And that's basically the basic idea of how to draw an eye. And when you draw the eyebrows, just make sure that you are making strokes that are, you know, following the way that the hair grows, and then that gives it a bit of realism. Obviously, there will be, if you're doing this in pencil, there'll be shadows in this area, there'll be shadows in that area, and all in all, it's the shadows that will start giving a sort of three-dimensional look.